Hello and welcome to First Kick Seahawks, the show where we prepare you for the first kick of every play by game day. And the Seahawks just got their asses kicked by the Buffalo Bills on Sunday. And we're going to be reacting to that. Typical YouTube introductions. Let's kick it. Can you kick it? Yes, we can. Well, I guess the Seahawks can't. And we're going to talk a little bit about how Ryan Grubb and Scott Huff made Geno Smith cry. Now, some people might be saying, well, Geno Smith needs to be tough. Have you been watching Geno Smith all season long? We've addressed this. We've addressed this as a community of fans. He is the most pressured quarterback in the league. He's getting pressured faster than any quarterback, and it's not particularly close. So here he is against the Buffalo Bills. How many times do you think Geno Smith was sacked in this blowout? He was sacked once. He was sacked once in this 31-10 blowout, that 7 points coming in at the very end, garbage time. He's been dodging bullets left and right all season, making things happen when they should not. But what's most bizarre about this is he's got his offensive line except for his right tackle. His left tackle has had every snap. His left guard has had every snap. His center has had every snap. And then his right guard has been rotating with Christian Haynes, for better or for ill, right? That's another conversation. Oh, he's on his fourth string right tackle. You know what? There's been a lot of quarterbacks over the years who have performed poorly and well with chaos across the offensive line. We just played Kirk Cousins, who lost his center and his left guard last week, and then we started performing really well. Our defense performed really well once he lost his left guard and his center. But what's most interesting about this is that despite him having a cohesive unit, right? Connor Williams, who was at one point an all-pro, not playing like it. Charles Cross, who was a top 10 pick, not playing like it. Laken Tomlinson's, yeah, you can make an argument that maybe he shouldn't be starting. Anthony Bradford, you can make an argument that maybe he shouldn't be starting. But I'll tell you what, Scott Huff, our offensive line coach, has not proven to me that he is a good coach. When the entire offensive line is playing just as good as your third and fourth string right tackle, and they're not injured, that's not a player problem, that's a coaching problem. We have routinely seen this offensive line play really bad against bad defenses and against really good defenses. And as we talked with Bill Alvstead earlier this week, this Bills defensive front is really good. And they only sacked Geno Smith once, but he was under pressure the entire time. At one point in the third quarter, the Seahawks only had a net rushing yardage of 3. We only had 3 rushing yards, which Ryan Grubb has not been calling good rushing plays all year. And I want to show you something. This is courtesy of John P. Gilbert of Field Goals. Week 1, we had 28 rushes, 115 yards. Broncos defense is pretty good, but that's week 1. Week 2, 14 rushes, 38 yards. Week 3, 21 rushes, 102 yards. Week 4, 14 rushes, 95 yards. Week 5, 7 rushes, 30 yards. Why did we only rush seven times, right? Week 6, 19 rushes, 52 yards. Week 7, 22 rushes, 88 yards. And then this week, we rushed 12 times for 16 yards. Now, one thing that we can point at is that there was no DK Metcalf. We had no DK Metcalf stretching the field. As we discussed earlier in the week, DK Metcalf average depth of target is 13.5 yards an attempt. I guess a target, right? Which is really high compared to most leading receivers. He is also, in yardage, the third highest receiving leader in the league. And we had Seahawks fans saying we should trade DK Metcalf for a second. We should trade DK Metcalf because we have Jake Bobo. We have Tyler Lockett. We have Jackson Smith and Jigba. We don't need DK Metcalf because he sucks. DK Metcalf isn't any good. He doesn't pull safeties out. He doesn't have a linebacker or a nickel carry up underneath him to create a light box. Well, let's look at this a little bit closer. Just a little bit closer. When we look at the Seahawks running backs, Kenneth Walker had 9 rushes for 12 yards, averaging 1.3 yards an attempt. And a bunch of those yards came from a broken play. Zach Charbonnet, he had 3 rushes, 4 yards, 1.3 yards average, and a touchdown. And on that touchdown, Connor Williams was getting blown up, and Zach Charbonnet was just able to drag the nose tackle into the end zone with him. Our offensive line has not been blocking against good units this year. That Broncos game, most of those yards came from a broken play. A lot of our yards have been coming from broken plays. A lot of our yards have been coming after DK Metcalf has had a 50-yard bomb down the field. And so it's fascinating to me. It's fascinating to me that people think DK Metcalf is bad. That Husky fans thought Ryan Grubb was going to come in and fix the offense. Geno Smith was our passing leader in the NFL. Probably not right now, right? But part of the reason he's the passing leader is he was passing 40 to 50 times a game and barely getting 300 yards. And I don't need to spell this out for you, but just to reiterate, if you're passing for 40 to 50 times a game and you're barely getting 300 yards, that is not an efficient offense. JSN, who is our leading receiver in targets and receptions, he should have a lot more yardage if you're passing 40 to 50 times a game. We do not have an efficient offense. Our rushing attack, with a healthy offensive line and a healthy Kenneth Walker, and we'll leave Charbonnet out of it because I don't know right now if he's a good runner. He's proven to be a good receiving back, but I don't know if he's a good runner right now. I always say he's good between the tackles. Don't have him run outside. They keep trying to have him run outside. But the way Laken Tomlinson has been blocking, at one point there was a game where he had a run blocking grade of 0, which you know how I feel about Pro Football Focus. But even then, with Pro Football Focus's grades, if you're getting a run block of 0, that's really bad considering the way that they grade, right? The way that they grade, if you get a 0, that's really bad. And I'm sure that our offensive line is going to have horrible grades this week. And I'm not gonna say anything about Pro Football Focus because they're gonna be correct. The other thing is that after Geno Smith cried, I believe it was after a turnover. He had guys in his face for a screen. He managed to barely get the ball off, and then the ball ended up getting, jostled, and then it turned into a turnover. Next drive, Geno comes in. He goes out of bounds. He's on the boundary. He's already out of bounds. Defender hits him out of bounds. It should have been roughing the quarterback. 15 yards, first down. Ref doesn't call it. Geno Smith, with his frustration, takes the ball. The ref is right next to Smoot, the defender who hit him. And instead of tossing it at the ref, he angrily tosses it at Smoot, and it hits Smoot in the head. Smoot then does a good acting skill like, you hit me in the head. Right, dude, you have a helmet on. Right? But also, Geno shouldn't be throwing the ball angrily in frustration, hitting the guy in the head. But Geno Smith cried during the 49ers game too, in frustration. And to tell a little something about myself, when I am feeling overwhelmed in a game, when I am giving it absolutely everything I have in a game, and I'm losing by like an inch every last second, and everything's in my face, and I don't feel like I have a chance to do anything, and I am scrapping as hard as I can, and I'm still just absolutely getting my ass paddled, I might cry, and then I might lash out just a little bit. You know what prevents that thing from happening? The people around me. Good leadership around me. Geno Smith never did that with Pete Caroll. The Legion of Boom, they didn't start acting the way that Richard Sherman exploding on the sideline, right? He didn't start doing that till Dan Quinn left. He started doing that once Chris Richard left, and then Pete Caroll had to come in and calm him down. Right, so that's a different thing. There's a reason why Richard Sherman and Pete Caroll notoriously have been known not to necessarily get along. But the offense under Pete Caroll and the defense always battled, and there were very few instances where they imploded like they imploded today. The quarterback, who's supposed to be the leader on the team, out of necessity, right? Because the ball hits their hands every single day. They have to be the best catcher on the team. They have to have the best patience on the team. Absolutely lost it today. And it's because he's got a rookie head coach who is not Pete Caroll. We know this. But he's tough on quarterbacks, but I don't think he's Mike Tomlin. Where Mike Tomlin, he leads with an iron fist, but he shows you how to behave. And I don't think Mike McDonald does that for his players. And I don't think Ryan Grubb does that either. And I don't think Scott Huff has set the offense up for success. And so Geno Smith and the offense is just frustrated. And then we implode. When we don't have DK Metcalf out there to stretch the field, even if he's not being targeted, suddenly we can't do anything on offense. Because we're not pulling safeties or defensive backs of any kind out of the box. We were lucky that Kenneth Walker got 12 yards. I haven't even talked about the defense. Job, right? First player all year to pick off Josh Allen. Amari Cooper tripped. As we discussed earlier this year, Amari Cooper has the 14th worst catch percentage in the league. And we're like, is that a Deshaun Watson thing? Is it a Amari Cooper thing? It was wet on the field, right? So it could just be a rain thing today, right? But the Job interception was very fortunate. And then for the rest of the game, most of those yards for passing were going to Coleman as they were just targeting Job over and over and over and over again because they knew this guy cannot cover. They did get a couple targets on Woolen, right? That first touchdown, Woolen was in perfect coverage. Coleman just made an amazing catch where he got his mitt up in the air and was able to pull it on down and into the body of Woolen and get his other hand in there. It was just a heck of a catch, right? But most of the Josh Allen yards were just targeting Job. They found the weak spot. Ernest Jones on our side, Mike linebacker, led the team in tackles with 7 combined tackles. And that seemed to make a huge improvement, but it doesn't matter if their quarterback is just taking a thumb and putting it in the weak spot on the defense. But we did have many opportunities to get off the field. But a penalty here, a penalty there, kept the Bills on the field. Which did not help when our own offense could not stay on the field. In fact, when you look at the time of possession, the Bills had the ball for 38 minutes and 3 seconds, and we had the ball for 21 minutes and 57 seconds. We had an interception, they had an interception, and then we had a fumble lost. But it wasn't like Geno was getting sacked left and right. We just couldn't stay on the field. That first drive for the Bills, because of the penalties that they amassed, they had 110 yards for that touchdown. But they just kept converting. We converted 1 third down all day. We only had 7 third down opportunities. Meanwhile, the Bills had 15 third down opportunities, but they converted 7 of them. Bills had 28 first downs. We had 17 first downs. So it's just a completely different level of ball possession matched with their offensive line was battling and our offensive line was completely falling apart. In fact, when you look at Connor Williams, he ruined 2 of our red zone opportunities, right? First, it was the snap that went over Geno Smith's head, and then it was the other play on 4th down where he stepped on Geno's foot and caused him to fall down. This isn't to say that we would have converted that 4th down for a touchdown, but at the same time, if you look at the history of the Seahawks this season, our running unit is our leading scoring unit. So, we might not have ran in for a touchdown, but statistically, we had a really good chance on 4th and a foot to get in there and score that touchdown. When you later look at the rest of the game, we weren't scoring touchdowns on the ground that close to the goal line. Charbonnet eventually did do that. Connor Williams on that Zach Charbonnet touchdown, completely blown up, right? So, getting into this Rams game, hopefully DK Metcalf plays, because I don't want Byron Young teeing off on us all day long and causing more frustration for poor Geno Smith, right? DK Metcalf able to stretch the field. Jake Bobo, obviously not a DK Metcalf. Okay, I said I was going to keep this short. We're just under 20 minutes. Thank you for kicking it with me. I will see you next time. We're going to do some evaluation of this game tomorrow. You enjoy the rest of your Sunday if you can.